Welcome, welcome everyone to today's episode of The Lindsey Show. I'm so excited to be continuing our discussion about making music that matters. Today, I am going to be talking with Dajae Williams, who is a NASA jet propulsion engineer who uses rap music to teach complicated science lessons. I love a woman who knows how to make science simple. After that, I am going to be sharing with you a little bit of fun that I had over on TikTok. That's right, I did my own rap all about being a pharmacist. Let's get to the show. Welcome to the Lindsey Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Dajae Williams is the dopest NASA engineer that you will ever meet. As a young engineer at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, Dajae ensures the quality of electrical and mechanical assemblies. When she is not solving technical problems, she is empowering the youth through her educational company, Listen Up. She teaches students science, technology, engineering, and math, as well as professional development through the genre of hip hop music. Most people don't know this, but Dajae initially earned her way through college on a full ride basketball scholarship. She wanted to play professionally, or at least strive to, but then she discovered the world of STEM. This new passion turned into an opportunity of a lifetime, an internship at Anheuser-Busch. Dajae decided in that moment to leave her full ride athletic scholarship on the table and pursue her dream of engineering. After that internship, she couldn't afford to return to college. So she decided to return to her roots and play basketball for a local community college. In what seemed like a series of bad decisions, ended up being sending her on a path to get to the best direction of her life. She focused less on basketball and more on her studies. And immediately after that, internships started rolling in. First at John Deere and then at Toyota. And now she has made her way all the way to the NASA engineering department. So Dajae Williams, welcome to the Lindsey Show.
Hey, hello.
I'm so excited to talk to you. So you are a Renaissance woman. You are an athlete, you're a musician, you're an engineer, and you're so young. So tell us, how did this dramatic transformation happen where you were an athlete, but then you discovered engineering and like completely changed the trajectory of your life?
Wow, good question. So obviously basketball was my life. Like every other hour I'm thinking about, going to go practice or I'm at practice or something like that. However, I started to feel I started to see how it was affecting my body. My knees started hurting. It was a lot of emotional turmoil being an athlete and trying to study engineering. So I balanced it for a while, but I always wanted to push further in my career. Look at the long game. So eventually, looking more into engineering, I got that internship at Anheuser-Busch or the offer. I didn't know if I would take it. So I spoke with my coach about it. We had a few conversations, but ultimately his decision was to say no. You have to choose. Your team needs you now. You're here to play basketball. Even though I was a student athlete, it was really athlete student. um, so he forced me to make a really, really serious decision at such a young age. And I don't know, I just always been future oriented. So I went ahead and told him I have to go and took the internship, packed all my stuff, moved back home and did the internship. And it really worked out. I really appreciated that foresight that I had for my life. And I always knew that basketball will always be there, whether me being playing in leagues or in a rec or something like that. But I knew the WNBA wasn't going to happen for me. One, because of the salary, but we can get into that too. So it just made more sense for me to go into the engineering
So
route.
wait, women in the WNBA don't make good money?
When I was looking at the time, it was, I don't know, maybe like $40,000, 50,000, maybe like yeah.
Like the
It's
disparity in pay between the NBA and the
it was
WNBA,
ridiculous. Yeah.
that is completely mind boggling that someone like you who loves the craft of the sport and understands it and plays it well. I mean, $40,000 is like barely even a livable wage these days, you know?
Right. They
Oh,
would have to they play in the US during the summer, and then you have to go play at an overseas team. And so you're playing basketball around the clock just to make ends meet. And let's not talk about, like, okay, you have an apartment here in the US for the summer, and then you're overseas for 8 months. What are you going to do now? You still have to pay rent. It's just a very difficult lifestyle. It didn't really make sense for my future and what I wanted to do. Kudos to the women who are doing it. Like,
yeah.
that it was my dream at one point, but I didn't see that for myself at that
Well,
stage.
and I know my brother is a professional baseball player, and one of the things that's really difficult on him is wherever you play, you have to pay taxes in all those different places. So
Wow,
if you're
I didn't know that.
so yeah, so my brother is has been with Major League Baseball for 13 years. So every single state that he plays a
Hmm.
game in, and you're talking 100 plus games a year, he has to pay taxes in that state. And so it's,
Wow.
yeah, so that would make a huge financial difference as well. But I want to talk more about how you started. What gave you the original idea to make science into hip hop? And how did you start making your own music videos and really
Okay.
trying to encourage young kids to learn more about science?
Okay. So like, I want to start in high school. So my high school teacher gave me an assignment, or gave the class an assignment to um, make a song about the quadratic formula. So that's where I came up with the first chorus of the first song. It was, X equals NSO negative B lesser mo, just literally matching Crank That by Soldier Boy to the equation. And the class really liked it. I really didn't think much about it afterwards, but music is so powerful that I remembered that song all the time. I don't People always knew that I was good at math, so I always had an opportunity to rap the little jingle for people. But I ended up using it in college to remember the quadratic formula. Fast forward, I don't know, let's say maybe 8 years or so. I wanted to be a music producer. So I'm finding conferences to go to. I ended up going to a Diddy's conference in Miami, and they had this panel about just changing the narrative of what's going on in our world, like the social issues, things of that sort. And it made me realize the power of hip hop. Like, we're talking about political issues here at a hip hop conference. This is a perfect opportunity to drop the fact that STEM would be a huge way to uplift our community. So, I got up on the mic. There's all these celebrities on stage and stuff like that. Diddy's in the crowd. Just anybody who's anybody is in this room. And I mentioned that I'm going to be a engineer at NASA, and why I think STEM would be a great why I think hip hop would be a great platform to get minorities into STEM. And the crowd was like, "What the heck? Like, who is this girl? She's working at NASA. She's talking about STEM. I don't know anybody here who would talk about engineering or science at a hip hop conference." It just made me such a unicorn that I didn't realize that I was. So Afterwards, I got a lot of leads. People ask me, well, what are you talking about? What is this music? I had nothing at the time. So because of that, it made me sit down and remind me back of that sophomore year where I wrote the song. And I'm like, well, let me just try to finish that song. I finished the song, told my school about it. My school shot the first music video for it, pubbed it for me, and the rest is history. So that's how the education of music came into play.
Oh, I love it because I love what you just said. I discovered that I was the unicorn I didn't know I was. And that is just like, if every woman and young girl could say those words, I think that the world would change, because every person, every young girl has that unicorn that
Hmm.
only you can be. I can only be who I am. And that is really, really powerful. And I think it's also powerful in your story that you were brave enough to shift gears, to listen to your body, that like, I'm not sure that the basketball is where I want to go, and just
Hmm.
be bold enough to do something different. Because I think for a lot of young people, being an athlete is like the cream of the crop, the best you could
Absolutely.
ever be. And so, what were some of the internal battles that you faced, and the opposition that you faced, and the sacrifices you had to make to say, this isn't right for me and I am going to go a different direction?
So when I decided to stop basketball, it was, like I said, very depressing. Um, I was used to being, top dog on campus, everybody catering to you. Your meals are paid for, your books are paid for. You get to the front of the line and everything. And so to leave that lifestyle was super tough. I ended up calculating how much money I would be losing out on per se from taking away the scholarship, and I think it added up to about $60,000. And it's just like, Deja, are you really gonna walk away from a free, not necessarily free, because my body was going through a lot of crazy stuff, but essentially a free $60,000? And it just, when I looked at the end game, it was like, no, like, you're not going to be a basketball player for the rest of your life. People are going to probably think you got kicked off the team. People are probably going to think that you weren't good enough to stay on the team, or I don't know, you just took the easy way out. But I had to like put all that to the side and focus on my future, and say that they will see in a few years. You may not see right now. You're going to see me go to a community college. You're going to see me, I don't know, look like a failure. But then when companies are flying me out to all across the country, like I've lived in maybe like 6 different states, you're going to see like why she made this decision. So it was a couple years of tough. I don't know. It was not easy to let go of a basketball scholarship, and everybody knows you as a basketball player. They're like, who do you think you are to be smart?
You're like, I'm just Dajae Williams, the engineer. Don't mind me. So you worked at Anheuser-Busch, you worked at John Deere, you now work at NASA. I started my career working for a former NASA astronaut doing protein crystallography in his lab. And so
Oh wow.
I'm wondering how you came to get introduced to NASA. What gave you the confidence to even apply for the job? How did you craft the like knowing like, yes, I have the skill sets to work in a jet propulsion lab? And why did you choose to work for NASA?
Oh, that's a really good question. I will be honest and say Nashville was not on my radar. I didn't even know that you could get a job there. I thought it was some hand-picked thing. I didn't have any idea of how to get into NASA. But it was always my dream to work at a tech company for sure. Um, But the way it happened was I joined this society called the National Society of Black Engineers, and they host this huge career fair every single year. So after my Anheuser-Busch internship, I went to that conference and I ended up getting offers from like John Deere, Johnson and Johnson, Toyota, Apple. So I haven't been to Johnson and Johnson, but I took all the other offers. And from my resume being so stacked at, I don't know, I was like 21 when this was happening. You have all these companies and you still haven't graduated. People see this on your resume and they're like, what? Like who? How is this even happening? So in this resume vault, the National Society of Black Engineers, I guess NASA vets it. And I don't know if they looked at keyword. I don't know how they found it, but they found my resume. And I actually got an email from them saying, we see that you're going to be at this conference. We love the experience you have. We would love to interview you. So, I flew out to Boston, went to the conference, had the interview, and I knew that it was potential for me to get the job from the interview. They were just super impressed with the experience that I had. Maybe a week later, I had another interview with my hiring manager, and he was speaking in like I had already had the job. Like, well, this is what you'll be doing, and it, the what you'll be doing part, it kind of confused me. I never heard that in an interview, and didn't hear anything back for like 2 weeks, and then there comes my offer letter for the internship.
Wow.
So it was actually that NASA found me through this National Society of Black Engineers. I didn't know it was possible. When I first got the email from them, I thought it was fake because it said NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. All I'm used to is seeing NASA, but I see the JPL on the end of it, and it's just like, what? Okay, is this NASA? Is it not? Like, what is this fake? I don't know what this is, but it, essentially NASA found me, and I was super blessed in being able to get into that position where I could be sought after by NASA.
Oh man, that's an amazing story. And I think it speaks to the power of being involved within your professional organizations. And so,
Yes.
I'm a pharmacist, and so I've always been involved in pharmacy organizations. And, you were in a very niche organization where people who were paying attention to diversity and inclusion and the need to have different opinions around the table was
Mhm.
looking, and they found somebody totally inspiring and talented and skilled that helps to bring a different worldview to a traditionally male dominated, traditionally white and Asian dominated industries. And so, how do you show up for yourself at work every day when you know that you're going to be mostly surrounded by men, you're going to be mostly surrounded by people older than you're going to be mostly surrounded by people that don't look like you? How do you show up for yourself each day?
That is a really good question, and I'll tell you, it's not easy. But I start off by finding allies. I network, whether that is me scoping out the cafeteria, to see like, okay, I see that person, I see this person. Let me just go have a conversation with them, and then they lead me to another person. Then that leads me to a person in leadership that may be of color or someone who is a huge ally to the Black community. So that's how I started off by, finding my tribe, right? And then as I started getting comfortable, I started putting a little bit more of my flavor, my culture into the way I showed up. So whether that be my chain that I'm wearing, or like some Jordans that I want to wear, or they have a pretty flexible dress code at JPL. So I took advantage of that and really got to show who I was through the way I dress at work. So between that and finding my allies, that's how I'm able to bring my whole self to work. And then after finding my allies, I don't just stop there. I start intermingling with all different types of people. It doesn't matter what you look like, I started joining. People think this is the funniest thing, but I joined the game club at uh JPL. It's a nerdy group of engineers that literally play board games at lunch. And I am such an outcast. Like, not they don't treat me like an outcast, but if you look at the table, it's a bunch of white men. A lot of them are older, and we're just going at this intense game. If you would look at it, you'll be like, "Who is this black girl just sitting at this table and laughing and enjoying?" Like, but me joining those groups and putting myself out there allows for them to get to know my culture in a way that they normally wouldn't, because it just seems like a group that you would not be able to join, that would not be welcoming. But one day I just walked by it and was like, well, what are you guys playing? And they were super nice to me. You want us to add you to the email list? I'm like, okay, sure. And after that, it became addicting. I started playing games with them every single day. Joined the bowling club, like just different things like that.
It is amazing that when we actually go out of our way to either introduce ourselves to groups where we go like, I don't know if I belong here, or if we really pay attention and listen to people across the table from us, how much
Mhm.
we can learn about other people and other world experiences around
Mhm.
us. And so you've gone one step further and started an education company called Listen Up Education. So tell us about
Mhm.
your idea for this and what's your long-term vision.
So my right now, it's only me, and it's me writing, educational music on topics that I know that it would have helped me when I was younger. But my long-term vision for this is um, full education reform. To be completely honest with you, I want to start developing textbooks. I want to start developing other supplementary learning tools, whether that be video games, apps, just totally infiltrate the education system, and, and start teaching people in the language that they want to be taught in. Because I know if my teacher played music, it wasn't music that I normally listen to. I was exposed to something new. So not only am I learning a new topic, I'm learning a new music genre. I'm learning how to speak in a different way. It's just too much going on when the purpose is to learn this math topic. So I'm trying to eliminate all of those barriers that I personally had to go through, and feed it to the kids in a way that they will be able to digest.
Yeah, I love that idea because not everyone learns the same way. And so
Hmm.
if we can be more diverse in the way that we present information, we can reach greater numbers of people. And
Hmm.
I completely agree with you. The educational system does need a lot of reform. I mean, nobody likes boring lectures, and nobody likes just
Hmm.
being stuck in a classroom not doing anything. This is one of the reasons that I asked you if you wanted to partner up on a new book that I have been writing. It's actually an old book. So, way back in the day, I competed for to be Miss Alabama, and I wrote a book for hands-on science education because I realized that you can't teach science from a book. You have to do it. It's an active type of activity. And you can never learn to be an engineer if you're not engineering things. You can't read that in a book. And so, you wrote the foreword for this book because right now is a critical time for children's education in general, but definitely
Hmm.
children's science education. Most parents can teach their children to read. Not as many parents can teach chemistry and engineering and calculus and more senior level STEM topics. And so, what would you say to moms out there that are being forced to be science teachers all of a sudden, or children who are interested in science but are not sure kind of how to navigate not having the structure of schooling and not having the structure of having a professional teacher? Like, what advice would you give to children and parents in this moment?
Okay. Well, I would shift your thinking from oh, I don't know this, or being intimidated by the fact that you don't know something, because science and STEM is all about discovery. None of us know the stuff. We're experimenting to find out. Where it's all about coming into something that you don't know but you want to find out. So don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't know. Know that you're not alone and not knowing. It's all about the discovery piece. That's where your passion for science might come up, because you're trying to find something new. It's okay.
Yes, that is so beautiful. I love that. Well, everyone listening today, you can find more about Dajae and all of the work that she is doing at www.dajaewilliams, that's DAJAE Williams.com. And you can also find her amazing quadratic formula and my personal favorite, the unit conversions rap, over on YouTube. And hey, with your permission, we'll take our listeners out by listening to some of your music right now.
Let's do it.
X equals N is O, negative B, less or more the square root of B squared minus 4AC for sure. Now find a root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, X equals N is O, negative B, less or more the square root of B squared minus 4AC for sure. Now find a root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, X equals N is O, about to solve quadratics now. Can you factor it? No, well, there's a method that's derived. Plug it in, now watch me solve. You know we use coefficients. When we find them answers, well, we look at the graph and plot that thing now. 2 answers, homie. Where are the intercepts, x-axis, homie? You may not get it right away, but you can practice every day. Don't be getting mad, cause all you gotta do is say X equals N is O, negative B, less or more the square root of B squared minus 4AC for sure. Now find a root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, X equals N is O, negative B, less or more the square root of B squared minus 4AC for sure. Now find a root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, root over 2, and we out.
Okay, you guys, I can't claim to be a rapper. I'm certainly no Dajae Williams. But one thing is for sure, when you exercise the creative space in your brain and simply have fun, it's good for your health. So don't judge me. Here comes my rap.
I'm a pharmacist, essential health and wellness, teaching knowledge, awareness, counseling patients. What's happening? What's happening? I'm a pharmacist.
Turning your creative passions into a viable business may seem like a daunting task. You may not know how to identify your audience, create a product that you can sell to them authentically, or how to run your business like a business. That's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. That's why I created an easy-to-understand 5-step guide to becoming an entrepreneur. You can access the free guide by heading to www.lindseyelmore.com/5steps. That's www.lindseyelmore.com/5steps. The Lindsey Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsey Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindseyelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsey Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.